Tech Tales 27. Today is May 11th, 9:15 a.m. This edition will go public in 45 minutes. And I'm reading a time slip from Thursday, April 29th from the chiropractor's office. And this was with Tracy, phone and remote support to configure easy access to reports folder on the X drive. What happened is that she called me because she couldn't find her reports. It's a reports folder on her old computer. What she was doing, and I didn't know this until she explained it, is that I asked her, well, show me how you would usually get it. She'd go into Microsoft Word and go to open and expect recent files to include her reports folder, and nothing was there. Well, she has a new computer now. And this is a newer version of Microsoft Office. So until she opens those files, they're not going to show up on her recent files or recent folders list. So what I did was I asked her a couple other questions to figure out where those files are actually stored at. And I was recollecting during this conversation that we've had issues in the past or gone through a transition in the past, because at one point I discovered that she was storing those files in a folder on her desktop which was not being backed up. So I discussed with her at that time that the importance of storing files on the server, because that's where we back files up from. And what I did back then is I moved those that folder, that entire content from her desktop folder to the server, and then put a shortcut on her desktop. And this shortcut when it copied over from her old computer, was not pulling up the files correctly. And I don't think she'd been using that shortcut anyway, because when I looked at this shortcut on her new computer, it was broken. And I think I told you in a recent time slip about the shortcut to the scans folder also being broken. So I'm remembering now that the way I found it was I looked back in my notes and found information about that transition, moving that folder to the server. So I went and quickly and easily found that. Now I could have gone just browsing around and found the folder, I'm sure. So I put the shortcut on her desktop and showed her, just double click here and there's all your folders and files. And she could recognize that, and you can just double click them from here and launch them, and they'll eventually populate in Microsoft Word. So that worked. And then I also have a note here in this time slip: adjusted ChiroTouch, the chiropractic software, to automatically launch with administrator privileges. Now I'm asking myself, why did I need to do that? I'm not remembering. I think it must have been coming up with some kind of a user account control, but that doesn't make sense for that program to be doing that. But anyway, I went to the icon on the desktop and right click and choose always launch with administrator privileges. Now this was a little bit tricky with us because this program uses a launcher application. When you launch this launcher application, that puts an icon in the upper right corner of the desktop screen, and they are instructed to double click on that, which brings down a drop down menu, and then they can click into the module they want. Nobody was really happy with that change in the Office. The software publisher switched to that form of launching their applications a few versions ago. And when we upgraded the server, we jumped to this newer version. The prior version that we had, it also had that launcher app, but they weren't required to use it, or they weren't advised to use it. The way that Tracy explained it is that they want them to use the launcher app instead of launching the modules directly, which still can be done. But she has no explanation as to why. And apparently they've decided to be compliant. It's kind of a nuisance. It's definitely extra clicks. And it's extra clicks to close everything down too. So I'd like to have the explanation behind that, but I don't have it. Perhaps I could find it if I dug deeper, but they're resigned to the idea of using the launcher app. So, okay. Next time slip is the attorney's office that I refer to with the letter P. This shows, well, you know what? Before I go on with Tracy's time slip, I didn't say that. That was 1:30 p.m. to 1:44 p.m., so 14 minutes. So going on to the attorney's office, this would have been Thursday evening, 5:42 p.m. to 6:10 p.m., 28 minutes. And the first part of this is M, for the person goes by the initial M. Remote connection uninstalled AnyDesk, which indicates it was installed on February 4th, 2021, and M reported not being aware of it. So in a prior instance working on her computer, I noticed AnyDesk, which is a remote access, remote support software, and I didn't remove it at the time. I'm not aware of anybody in the office using that, and when I asked her about it, she had no idea why it was there or what it was there for. So that's a little disconcerting. She does a lot of different things, and I suspect that she probably was on a support call with a software provider for something that they use, and somebody wanted to use AnyDesk to connect remotely, probably a one-off instance, but I don't know what it was. I'm certain that if she clicked on one of those notices that comes by email or pop-up message in a browser that says your computer's infected, call this number, and if she did that and she let somebody connect remotely to her computer, she would have told me about that. And she wouldn't have done that in the first place. So anyway, this is my note of uninstalling it. And then also I modified time in Avaya IP for phones. So their phone system has a display time, and she told me that it's off. It's not correct. When she told me that a while back, I assumed that it was off by an hour due to the recent daylight savings time change. And that was not the case. I had made a change back then and followed up with her. What I did is I just put a 1 hour offset. And then when I followed up with her, she said, no, it's still wrong. I don't know if it was different by an hour because she didn't pay that close of attention to how much it was off and which direction it was off. I think when I put in that 1 hour offset, it was previously 40 minutes ahead, now it's 20 minutes behind or something to that effect. And so I checked in with her and she told me it was still off. And I said, well, did it just go off at this recent daylight savings time, or has it always been off? She said it's always been wrong. So I looked back in my notes, and I think I'd already looked back in my notes because I knew I had pursued this in the past. I had pursued it in the past by even calling the vendor for their phone system and asking them, how do you do this time setting on the phone? I know he gave me a couple of alternatives, and every time I've talked to them about making adjustments to this phone, the responses have been a little kind of like a squiggly fish flopping around in your hands trying to get a grip on it. And I don't blame them for that. There's a reason behind it. The reason behind it is that this Avaya IP phone system is a very, very versatile and therefore complicated configuration system to accommodate all the different types of needs, different size offices, might need and might choose how they want to use the system. So a lot of features in there we don't use. And in any particular office, they might want this list of features. Another office might want this list of features, this list of features. Some of the features they want, they don't, and they want to do this differently. So there's lots of different ways to do it. And I go into the help system and I find for time settings, you could do it this way, you could do it this way, you could do it this way. So when I went to work on this, it had a time server IP address that by design, it's supposed to reach out to that time server and get the current time. And I know that last time I worked on this problem, I found that time server IP address and I put that in. And it did not solve the problem. And back then, at that time, I wound up giving up on it because I had spent unreasonable amount of time trying to fix it. The phone vendor was not giving me a clear answer, just giving me options of how to do it. So this time I went back and I started looking again, because every time I go revisit a problem that I wasn't able to solve previously, I am a different person when I go back to that problem, because I've had different experiences since back then. I've had some new ideas or new ways of thinking, adjustments in my thinkings, and I'm always getting better. That's part of what I love about this job and this business. So I was going to take another attack at the problem, and this time I was focusing on another alternative method of doing it. And it said you could take out the time server, not use the time server field, and adjust the time on the phone itself. Go in and punch buttons on the phone. So while I was remotely connected to M's computer in the via IP software, I removed the time server and then click to save that change, and then click to save the configuration file, and then click an option to reboot when available. What happens when I do that is it will reboot the system when nobody's on a phone call. Well, I was doing this after hours, so there's probably nobody on the phone. And then I went into the office, looks like it was the next morning. I'm going to come up to a time slip later to find that. But when I went into the office next, my intention was to punch the buttons on the phone to adjust the time. And when I did that, I'm just kind of scrolling here to see, did I do that? I've got a time slip showing the next morning. But I don't have, oh no, that time slip was remote. So it's further away that I went into the office. You know what? I'm thinking I went into the office that night and never put a time slip for it. Yeah, that might be the case. I might have missed that time slip. Oops. But anyway, when I went in, I found the time was correct. I looked at the phone and boom, it was correct just by removing that time server address. And it just kind of was, wow, really? The answer to this was just simplified. Just stop trying to fix it. So why did I have to put the time server in there to begin with? I don't know. It's water under the bridge. Happened in the past. Maybe I'm just talking off the top of my head as I'm recording this. I might realize later in the day an answer for that. But anyway, it's just another story in those. I do these explorations outside of my normal realm, outside of what I'm expected to do. But I charge my clients for that. And I tell them up front, look, this isn't the area that I know. I'd be happy to go down this road for you. I love learning new things. And they tell me, yes, do it. So that'll be it for this episode. I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.